Hey guys, it's CWillyHD here, and welcome back to another episode of Game Breakers. This time we'll be taking a look at Undertale. This indie title blew up and is now loved by many, but it does have a good amount of glitches too. Skipping past the Sans fight, getting out of bounds, this, and more. But before we get started, some of these glitches have been patched out with the newer versions of the game. If you want to do these glitches, you're going to need to go back to the original 1.00 version of the game. You can do this in Steam by right-clicking on the game, Properties, Betas, and then old version 1.00. If the game doesn't launch, check the description below. Anyway, let's not waste any more time and get into the video. Up first is a pretty interesting one that allows you to get out of bounds in the ruins. In this room with the leaf puzzle, if you fall through the pit 10 times, then the game just covers them and lets you walk around freely with no troubles. However, part of this wall at the exit isn't solid, so we can walk right through it. When I originally did it, I thought there was nothing else to see here as there's collision blocking us. A Reddit user by the name of Portmantino showed us that if you hold up and right, we can pass right through this and get out of bounds. We have to hold down these two buttons for roughly 2 minutes. You'll encounter some enemies, but after a little while you'll see the screen slide up, signifying that we are free from the invisible wall. Once I broke out, it took me a while to actually get back on screen, but when the screen does shift, just hold left. I also threw in some up and down movement, but I don't think that did anything. A useful tool to help guide you back is encountering enemies. The heart travels from the player to the middle of the screen, so use that. At first, I wouldn't even see the heart, so I think I was too far away, but eventually I got close enough to see it fly in from the black void. After a little time, I was back in view of the camera, this time out of bounds. You can have a look around now. If you travel all the way up and around the left side, you can go down towards the solution room. I ended up hitting a hole that sent me through the non-existent floor and down here. I was still okay though and free to look around this room too. I traveled down and went back to the left. I encountered an enemy, and after fleeing and walking a few steps, my game crashed and had this error message. After that, you have to restart the game from your last save, but it's still a neat way of getting out of bounds. Up next is another out of bounds glitch, this time at Grillby's in Snowdon Town. There are a few ways to do it, but the easiest is holding left as soon as you enter, then holding down left. You won't hit the loading zone to leave, and instead you'll be clipped inside this wall. It took me a second to realize, but Frisk's hair color is the same as the wall, so all you can see is a few pixels in the face. There's an invisible wall blocking you from going any further to the left. I tried walking down for a while and then moving around, but that didn't seem to do too much. However, you can walk down and around the loading zone and end up on the right side of the wall. Frisk is even harder to spot now as there's only a couple pixels showing all the way at the bottom of the screen. But once you've had your fun, you can just walk towards the exit and you'll be back outside. After the fight with Papyrus, assuming you didn't kill him, you'll see Sans at the beginning of Waterfall. He'll take you to Grillby's and a big long conversation goes down. However, if you hold up as soon as you enter and keep it held down, after the introduction dialogue, you'll both go to take a seat. Sans won't sit down in the chair and continue walking up and off the screen. I guess this doesn't mean anything to him as he still continues to talk to you like normal. Having the whole scene play out like this is interesting to say the least. Between the plates that move on their own, him stopping time to talk about a mysterious flower, and then walking out and leaving, he's nowhere to be seen. I was kinda hoping he'd pop back up as he was walking out, but I don't think he ever stopped walking up. Since we were holding up, we managed to get slightly in front of him before we got to sit down. I guess the game didn't expect it as the cutscene usually disables all input from the player. I tried experimenting with this and held down the whole time, but that didn't seem to affect anything. Anyway, it's very simple and doesn't cause any issues with the game later on. Just a fun little visual glitch. Sticking with the Skeleton Brothers, this time we have a glitch with Papyrus. If you did fight and kill him, you'll soon reach Waterfall. A few rooms in, you'll reach this patch of grass and the cutscene with Undyne begins. Normally, Papyrus will show up here and talk to her if you did spare him. However, since we killed him, he shouldn't be here, right? Well, funny enough, no. Once you take control again, instead of continuing to the right, walk back to the left. You'll see Papyrus just hanging out up there. Undyne doesn't even notice him either. Once the cutscene ends, he's nowhere to be seen. Obviously, this is just an oversight by the game as they didn't expect you to walk back this way, and Papyrus is just loaded there in case you did spare him. When he is supposed to be there during this cutscene, he eventually just runs off. But he never does when you kill him, so this is the result. This also doesn't mean he's magically alive again. You won't see him for the rest of the game after this point, so get a good look in now. A minor glitch can occur when you're walking around and either tab out or click off of the game. Frisk will just be walking in place with the animation still playing. Even after coming back into the game, you can walk, stop, and it'll still be going. Even entering a new area and leaving won't correct it. When you do this glitch, you can't walk in that direction for some reason. So if you click off the game while walking up or down, you can only move to the left or right with the glitchy animation. It sometimes doesn't even allow you to walk those ways. I tried this in Snowdin, and you can take the igloo shortcut and pop back out to the other side with the glitch still active. It's a neat little trick to mess with the animations. In the beginning section of Waterfall, you'll have to complete these flower bridge puzzles. I'm sure most of you know by now there's a secret room in the bottom right corner. But if you make a bridge, enter the room, then leave, the bridge is still there, but more flowers have spawned in. Continue extending the bridge, and there's now a little area of water we can just walk on. It's only this small box as there are invisible walls on all the other sides, but it's still strange that they didn't add any here. This next glitch is pretty pointless, but still looks cool nonetheless. Just after falling off that bridge with Undyne, you'll land in a room with piles of trash. There's some wooden planks floating above the water. If you get off of one at just the right angle, you'll never enter back into the water and you'll be walking above it. It looks kind of funny, but sadly doesn't allow you to move any faster. You can't even keep the glitch active the whole time as you sink back into the water right before the exit. Similar to the Sands Out of Bounds glitch, we can do something like that with this cutscene. Just before reaching Hotland, you'll have to face Undyne. When you arrive at this cave thing, a cutscene will start. But if we hug this wall and hold up throughout all of Undyne's dialogue, when it ends we'll just be all the way up here out of bounds. You're free to explore an area you're not supposed to be in and avoid fighting Undyne. However, if you go too far, she'll jump down and attack. Instead, head towards the entrance and begin running. We skip a phase of the fight this way so we can keep fleeing and reach Hotland a little earlier than normal. See? An out of bounds glitch that's actually useful. When you first arrive at Alphys' lab, you'll have a little quiz with Mettaton. After answering a question and you're back in the battle menus, mash the button so you select spare as quick as possible. Since Mettaton is currently sliding back to the middle of the screen, his text won't line up with him correctly as the text box pops up right as you select the spare option. You can do this glitch for every question, and it's just a minor thing I came across while playing through the game. Speaking of Alphys' lab and text boxes, this next glitch messes up them and the messages on the screen. If you're on the horizontal moving belt, use the phone and call someone. The text will stay in place, but Frisk will keep moving, causing the text to slide off the screen along with the sprites in a weird black box. You won't be able to move until you read through all the text that you can't even read. Using one of the dimensional boxes doesn't have the same effect though, probably because it's fixed onto the screen and not scrolling dialogue. You can also do this glitch with items too, as long as it causes text to pop up. I tried doing this glitch in other areas, but you stop in place when you pull up a menu. It's strange that only the one in the lab works. Somehow, there's still another glitch in the lab, this time with the vertical belts. On the one going down, make sure your menu is hovering over the cell and have the dimensional box as your first option. If you don't, just call it and it'll be back at the top. Now line up so you're one step away from walking onto the belt. Move down, pull up the menu, and call the box very quickly. You have a very short amount of time to pull up the menu as you step on the belt, and then you have to call the box before you hit the loading zone. If done correctly, you'll be warped a little ways off from the normal spot and you're now unable to move. The game is soft locked, and now the only thing you can do is reset the game. Now for the belt going upwards. This one was a little trickier for me anyways, as I couldn't get the timing down to pull up the menu, and if I did it too early, it would switch the cursor up to the stat option. So you could get lucky and pull it off the same way, or as you're stepping onto the belt, pull up the menu, click down, and then call the box. I'd recommend just pressing up and C at the same time. This pretty much guarantees it'll pull up the menu and move, but you'll have to go back down to the cell. Anyway, there's not a big reward here either, as you're placed upstairs and soft locked again. This wasn't really worth the hour I spent trying to pull it off, but if you're bored and passing through Alphys' lab, give it a shot. Up next is a movement glitch that you can pretty much do anywhere. If you hold up and down at the same time next to a wall, Frisk's sprite freaks out, rapidly switching between the two animations. It can create some interesting effects in places like Alphys' lab with the spotlight, here with the umbrella, and other areas that look like there's an earthquake occurring. When you're outside in the 2D section with the monster kid, doing this makes you move a lot faster than normal. The kid can't keep up and it will take him a second to actually get back by your side. You can also do this glitch to encounter enemies without actually moving around, which could be useful. Anyway, it's an easy little trick that makes walking around the game a little more interesting. In Hotland, just after Sans hot dog stand, there's a puzzle with 3 switches. However, if you go to press the third one, Alphys calls to cut you off, which is okay because she deactivates the laser for you anyway. But there is a way to hit all 3, but it's very difficult. Begin by standing at the top of the conveyor belt, hit the first 2, run forward, and then as you're about to reach the third pole, mash Z and begin holding down. Here's the glitch in real time. If you did this at the exact right time, you'll hit the third switch and Alphys will still call you, but now things get messed up pretty quickly. The sprite won't move with the text box and a bunch of text is printed to the screen. It does correct itself to some extent, but it gets way worse. You can still move around with the text up and activate the phone call again and again. This creates some beautiful sounds that I'll lower for the sake of your ears. Yeah, it's not the most pleasant sound in the world. If you don't advance any of the text and just keep walking around, the game slows down a lot. I got it down to as low as 5 frames a second, and it actually put some strain on my computer. If you walk back to the conveyor belt, it does fix it, but you can quickly go back and start it all over again. Once you're done, I'd recommend walking into the next room and give yourself a minute for your ears to adjust back. Like I said before, it's a pretty difficult glitch to pull off, and you have to be extremely precise with your timing. It's also tough because there's not a save point nearby, so it takes about 30 seconds between attempts. It took me close to 2 hours until I finally managed to pull it off. I'd say it's worth it though, as you can completely overload the screen with text. In the following room from the last glitch, you'll find these vents that can be a little tricky to maneuver. However, if you just mash C while in the air, it'll quickly pull up the menu before the switch is activated and changes directions. If you do 2 of these in quick succession, you can get through the puzzle a lot easier. It's also just fun to mess around with. So the final glitch in this video is a doozy. It's known as the punch card skip and can be used in a lot of cutscenes and events in the second half of the game. It's not too hard either, you just have to trigger an event and activate the punch card at the same time. Most of the time you can just press the direction you need to go and C simultaneously. When you close out of the punch card, you'll be free to walk around and head to the next area, leaving whatever was supposed to be going on behind you. I'm going to be showing off a lot of uses for this glitch, and I mean a lot, so going into detail about almost 20 different skips would make this video way too long, so these will go by kinda quick. But you do need to do some unconventional things for a few of them, so I'll talk about them when I get there. Okay, so up first is this section with the Undyne spear chase scene. When you're in this room, look at the platform below you. You notice the darker lines? We need to be focusing on the 6th one from the left, so walk forward and when it's close to getting off screen, stop and slowly creep forward until it's about here. We now need to press right and open the menu at the same time. If frisked, move forward and the bottom platform looks like this, you'll be good. If we were to close out of this right now, the cutscene would trigger. Instead, go into your menu and use the punch card. Close out of it and you can begin running without having to wait for Undyne to start throwing spears. This will give you a little head start, but the screen will eventually skip a little and Undyne will be back on your tail. Like I said before, most of the skips we're going to be doing with the punch card follows this method of moving and opening the menu at the same time, so I'll be moving a little quicker with the rest of them. When reaching Alphys' lab for the first time, there will be a cutscene with the Mettaton quiz show. But by lining up here on this line, then moving right and activating the punch card, we can continue walking through the lab while Alphys is trying to talk to you and leave out the back door. A little ways ahead, you'll reach this room with a locked door and 2 side puzzles. Stand on the side of a vent, move, and activate the punch card. Quickly close out of it and move so you'll land out of bounds. You can now just head straight for the door as the loading zone is still behind it. Okay, so this next one's pretty difficult and takes place when the lights are off before the cooking show. If you want to skip this and the jetpack minigame, it's a little different than normal. If you just want to skip the little cutscene, stand here in the dark and do the punch card glitch. You'll be able to walk away from the first cutscene, but you'll be stopped as the screen transitions over into the minigame. From here, you'd have to complete it as normal. However, if you want to skip both, here's what you need to do. Once you're inside, walk up to the back wall so the text displays "It's too dark to see near the walls." After you're here, you want to open the menu and hover over the used punch card text. You need to click Z and enter 1 frame apart. This trick is called text storage. The punch card along with the text will pop up, but you're not done yet. You now have to close out of that punch card, open the menu again, activate another punch card, and close it before the text on the screen is done being printed. You have to be very quick to do this, but if you got it, you can walk around with the text on screen, so walk right and activate the phone call with Alphys. You can advance the text up until you see "I'll hack into the light system and brighten it up." Once you're here, start walking forward, and when the lights come on, close out of that text box. This will allow you to continue walking, so hold down and right so you don't bump into the table. After a few seconds, you'll hit the loading zone, completely skipping the whole thing. After skipping that event, you won't be able to open your menu since it got disabled and you never fully finished it. So we're gonna have to take the elevator down to the first floor on the left side and leave Hotland. Once you're here on this bridge, we'll have our menu back. Another cool thing you can do with the punch card is wrong warp. Once you're out here, we're already on the correct pixel to do it. So walk up and then open your menu. Hold up and right, then use the punch card. When the screen is transitioning, let go of all directions and mash Z. This will close the punch card, and letting go of up and right prevents the game from soft locking. If you didn't let go, you'll be stuck in the middle not able to move, kinda like the vertical conveyor belts. If you want to continue wrong warping, go to this exact spot and do the same thing holding up and right. Then when you're in this room, you want to stand here, hold up and left this time, and then use the punch card. You don't have to do these, but wrong warps are used in speedrunning to save some time walking. Anyway, when in the elevator, you can do something with the punch card too. Go up to the panel and press Z and C at the same time. Use the punch card and you'll now be able to move around while selecting which floor you want. Choose right floor 2 if you want to progress the story and walk right out, as you don't need to actually wait in here. Once you choose a floor, it's already been loaded, so the cutscene is pointless. Back up in this room, there's another way to hit all 3 switches. Walk on and press the first 2, then when you get here, use the punch card and mash Z to close out of it and click the third one. This will cause the same effect as before, and it's honestly a lot easier to pull off, so I guess the other method was kinda pointless. I wish I knew about this earlier, as it would have saved me 2 hours of attempts, but that's okay. Anyway, when you reach this area with the royal guards, we can skip the fight entirely too. Stand here, walk forward, and open your menu at the same time. Activate the punch card, and even though they're telling us to stop, we don't actually have to and we can continue walking. A neat side effect of doing this glitch is that when you get up here and skip through Alphys' text, you'll have a burst of speed for no real reason. In the following room, it's another pitch black area with the Mettaton news show. To skip this, re-enter the room and hold right. Once inside, count 6 steps and then stop. Now we want to buffer forward a step each time, so tap right and C at the same time, then use the punch card. Keep repeating this process until the text pops up and then we can close the punch card. You can now leave the scene and head for the door. You can even advance the text until the news show pops up and continue walking around with this cool border until you leave the area. After doing that skip, your menu will be gone again, so do the same thing as before and go down to left floor 1. Head to the bridge and then back up to the left side floor 3. When you reach this room with the steam vents, we can get out of bounds and skip a section. When you're at this one, walk up and use the punch card. Close out of it as fast as possible and hold up and to the right. If you got it correctly, you'll be able to walk up and over this closed door and leave to the next area. Up next is skipping the fight with Muffet. Stand here, tap right and C at the same time, and use the punch card. Now you can just walk through and on to the next room. It's worth noting that if you didn't get it on this first spot, there are a lot more text boxes that pop up, so you'll have multiple tries to pull it off. In the area right after that is the Mettaton musical number. As much as I love this scene, we're going to skip it. Stand here so the L shape in the wall is right over Frisk's head and then do this skip. You can walk out right as the show's starting. Once you're outside, we can't use our menu again, but don't go down just yet. Go into the MTT resort and head towards the core. Sit through this cutscene and now we can go down and get our menu back. It's important that you watch this cutscene as it sets the story event flag ahead so we can go to this floor again. If we didn't do that, the elevator wouldn't let us go back to right floor 3. Once you've done that and back in the core, we can skip the fight with the magic enemies by standing here and doing the punch card skip on the 3rd line on the floor. A few rooms later, you'll be in here with a bunch of lasers. Right as you're about to step on the bridge, do the skip. After running into the first section of lasers, they won't reactivate and you can just walk right through. After doing the one side puzzle, you'll reach this area with Mettaton. On this spot with Frisk's hair lined up with the purple wall, you can do the skip and walk right past. Now all the way in the new home, we can do a trick with the punch card to skip an encounter. Walk over here to the key and do the text storage trick from earlier in the cooking show room. If you need a reminder, click Z and enter a frame apart. This will activate the punch card and take the key. Close out of the card and with the text box still up, walk over to this lamp and hug the wall. Move left and right as the exclamation point pops up, press Z to close the text box and hold up right. Before you get in the encounter, you'll enter the room, so you've completely skipped over that encounter with all that dialogue. If you want to skip another dialogue encounter, you can do this one downstairs. Walk into the next room and then back. Tap right 3 times, go up to the wall, and you'll be on the right pixel to wrong warp. Open your menu, hold up and right, then use the punch card. Mash Z and let go of all the directions. You'll spawn a little deeper into the next room, skipping one of the encounters. And finally, skipping past Sans. Walk down the hall and once you reach the 2 columns side by side, stand here and step into the tile while opening the menu. Use the punch card, close out of it, and then walk forward. You can walk right past Sans as he just looks at you. Right when the screen stops scrolling, hold up and right to get into the door. You can now progress onward without ever having to deal with him. So those are all the skips I'm going to show you using the punch card, but as you can see, there are a lot of uses with this glitch. That's the last spot you can use it in since you can't skip anything with Asgore. If you're doing the true pacifist ending, you can do more with the punch card though. That's gonna do it for this massive episode. If you enjoyed, please drop a like and subscribe. I want to give a big thanks to the Undertale speedrunning community, but specifically Shay. He's a speedrunner and made a guide for the game. He helped out a lot with the punch card skip, so if you're interested in running the game or seeing more uses for the punch card, definitely go check it out. But with that, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, see ya!